Welcome back, everybody, to this week's episode of Standout Women Live. I am your host, Michelle B. Griffin, and I am thrilled to introduce to you another woman who is standing out and owning her lane. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that's near and dear to my heart. So, welcome to the show, Natalie Hales.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, Michelle. I'm so excited to be here.
Absolutely. For those who are just getting to know you, Natalie, because we're going to geek out on all things branding, niche and positioning, standing out,
Yeah.
hence the name Standout. Can you please give everyone a quick overview of who you are, where you're from, what do you do, and how do you help people with what you do owning your lane?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm Natalie Hales. I'm a brand strategist for financial advisors. I've been in corporate in financial services for the last 14 years. I've had my own business for the last two. And I specialize in helping advisors discover their niche, craft their positioning, and then tell their stories for their ideal clients.
No, that's good. So we're going to basically talk about what you're doing first, how you did it for yourself, and then there's so many lessons to be learned and applied from what you're doing for clients because you came on the radar. I guess I don't know. Maybe we connected like 2 years ago, and you just really stood out. Like this person, Natalie, just knows her stuff. And then I love the fact that you are top of mind. Even if I need someone to like a brand strategist for financial advisors, you are so top of mind. Like you crafted that niche, owning your lane from the get go. And before we went live, you told me, oh, I started this from the beginning. You're not one of these people that kind of were fiddling around, kind of going broad and then had to find your niche. So tell us a little bit about that story and then we're going to get into it.
Yeah, you're right. Though I think a lot of people do, like they start very broad and then eventually they narrow down, and there's absolutely no problem with that if that's the way you feel comfortable in starting your business. But I mean, having been in marketing and doing branding and whatnot for over a decade now, I just know what works and what doesn't, and I'm just a very firm believer in, like you say, narrowing down or finding your lane. And with advisors, I call it niching. And so for me it was, and the way that I work with advisors is to help them niche, is to understand their background. And so that's really where I started, right? What was my own personal story? And I knew I always wanted to have my own business one day. So it was really doing that deep dive work that I needed to do for me to understand, like, why did I even get into this business? And, what is the story around that? And, what were those things that happened in my life that were absolutely transformational that essentially got me to where I am today? And so for me, it was taking that step back and doing that thinking work to then realize, oh my gosh, like, of course, of course, this is what I should be doing. And of course, this is who I should be doing it for and how I should be doing it. And so I did a little bit of that discovery work on myself and then moved into, the next step of things, which is branding myself. And so coming up
Mhm.
with that positioning and tying that back to my story, um, before developing those different stories, right? Developing that founder story, developing that company story and that client story that I needed to have, in my back pocket, because I don't really believe in pitches per se. I think
Mhm.
people really resonate more so with stories. And so that's how I develop my own positioning, and that's how I work with advisors to help them develop theirs.
No, I absolutely love that because when I do my Own Your Lane roadmap with clients and what I teach, we start with a story. Like, what is the backstory so that you can be absolutely so relatable? And if you all want to see an example of a really awesome website talking about her positioning, her backstory, her big why, is go to nataliehales.com because your story is tremendous about, growing up and all that and what led you to do what you're doing. So I'm sure
Yeah.
the right clients just gravitate because a brand at the end of the day is a promise and a connection, right? It's an intangible feeling among other
Yeah.
things. And so you absolutely put the stake in the ground with that. So I love
Mhm.
that you help your clients and first you did the work yourself. And can we
Yeah.
just not say if you're a brand strategist, it's so hard to do your own branding. It's so
It is.
hard. So
Yeah.
props to you, Natalie. Like you
Yeah.
nailed it. It's
I had
awesome.
I had some help along the way, from people that have been in the business, and just kind of, especially with getting a little bit of feedback, which I also think is super important as you're building your brand, to reach out and see what's resonating and what's not, both with, your ideal client and mentors that you trust. And so can't I did it for myself, but I wouldn't say I did it in isolation, because I really do believe in feedback, and it was a huge part of what I did.
Absolutely. And that's why clients come to me, because it's just so hard, or they're frustrated. I'm sure to you too. They're
Yeah.
just not getting the traction, because we need that help. So, you left corporate to start your own business. You told me before we went live, that you hit your specialization because you did that work. You did that foundational first focus work, which I highly believe will get us out there faster, go farther faster. So you are really, as you say, like the category of one for the only, brand strategist out there that is helping financial advisors do that. So that's a
Yeah.
big sticking point, because today we're talking about how to stand out in a sea of sameness. So first of all, for you to own your lane of your expertise and how you're standing out, you did that. Like, props to you. Like, so you're doing that. But the beautiful thing is you now just turn it over and help clients. So you're
Yeah.
truly the guide helping your clients do the same thing you did. So let's talk about that, because I
Yeah.
know we have people struggling. I have friends, clients everywhere. You see on LinkedIn all the time, people struggle with the proverbial niche positioning, specialization, narrow laning, whatever you want to call it. They struggle with standing out, right? So
Yeah.
let's get into some of that on what you propose, what you teach, and what you believe in.
Yeah. I mean, where do I even start with this?
Because you
Um,
have a fun, you have a well, first I want to also say you have like a branded framework or methodology or belief, first of all, right?
yeah.
Is that like your niche funnel system or something I read?
Yeah, yeah, that's right. I do have something called the niche funnel, and I guess it's helpful to really, first and foremost for myself and for my clients, to really identify, like, what do they really want, right? And
Hmm.
what are they stacked up against, right? I mean, brand strategists like ourselves, like, we talk about the villain, right? So that
Hmm.
being like the proverbial villain, and that's not just always like a person. It's like a even just like a philosophy that's going around. And for me, I knew that there was really no one in the industry helping advisors in the way that I thought that they needed help. And for me, that was looking around, seeing this very traditional sales funnel, right?
Hmm.
That advisors are still doing tons of cold calling, hustling, networking
Yes.
events, and some people just love that hunt, but it is exhausting, right? And there
Hmm.
is, building a personal brand can get you there a little bit easier. I mean, that's what's going to get you a lot more of that inbound and that notoriety and the authority. And so I knew that I really wanted to help advisors kind of transition away from this struggle that they were just
Hmm.
constantly this hustle 24/7. And I knew that they really needed to focus down in who they were serving. You
Hmm.
really see tons of jargon out there, and financial advisors talking about, I can help you with your financial future. And it's just, not resonating. A lot of it's just not hitting the mark because they're speaking so broadly, right? Their words are
Hmm.
broad, who they're targeting is broad. And so I really, really knew that they had to get a lot more narrow in who they were speaking to. And so that the villain that if for financial advisors really is this traditional sales funnel, and the new way is the niche funnel, right? Understanding
Hmm.
your target audience, understanding who is it that you want to actually um, connect with, and targeting your marketing towards that. And I mean, like, it targeting your marketing isn't like, I need to change my entire business, even though a lot of that does happen in a lot of positive ways. But I mean, financial advisors, they just need a lot of help to understand it's not as scary as you think. It really is just going out there and changing your marketing to actually resonate with a specific target audience. And so that's where we needed to start. We needed to get more
Hmm.
generic. Sorry, we need to get more specific,
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
generic.
no, that's I love the flip of the sales funnel to the niche funnel. And the word niche, much like a personal brand, it gets a bad rap. There's just so much around it, right?
Yep.
But it kind of goes deeper. It sounds like what you're doing and what I advocate. Let's find where you want to go, who you want to serve, the problem. Let's talk in their
Mhm.
problem language, not the build your future or financial, all the jargon, BS,
Right.
cliche stuff. Let's just
Yeah.
bust that out, clear the
Yeah.
path, start fresh, and then just start getting in on their, language of the customer's problem, because you're, positioning yourself as the only solution, just like you are, Natalie. Like, you are truly living example for your clients. So I love that you do that. So did you develop like the niche funnel like right away, or did all this kind of come as you got out there? Because that's another thing I tell clients: when you have some of that foundation, you're going to get really clear and confident, but then you're going to start seeing the market react and things are going to start coming to you faster. So did that come first, or did that flow a little
Um,
bit later?
it flowed a little bit later, but I wouldn't say like too much later. It
Oh,
really,
good.
I did know, I wanted to speak directly to financial advisors, so I knew who I was talking to right off the bat. I knew what problems they were going through, and so I knew I wanted to kind of personify this villain, right, being the traditional
Hmm.
sales funnel, and looking at those internal problems and those external problems. So like, what is this translating to? It's translating to essentially exhaustion and everything that looks like. And internally, what does this feel like? Well, it feels like they're not, they're constantly spinning their wheels. It's never going to end. And so, and philosophically, what does that look like too, right? Like, what is the larger problem there? It's not just like how like what it's translating to in terms of like constantly networking or like
Yeah.
never feeling like enough on the inside. There are these um, bigger impacts. And so I knew that you also have to speak to it as like, what is the bigger reason that I'm here?
Hmm.
And that led back to my own story, right? Wanting to make sure that as many people as possible understood the value of financial advice and had the opportunity to get that, understand what good financial advice could actually do for them. And so everyone needs to have that higher mission,
Yeah.
and that's what actually led to me developing the niche funnel, right?
I love it.
Understanding those things and then getting out there for a little bit in the
Hmm.
market and just kind of testing that. Is that working? And I always recommend this, to financial advisors too. Once you know who you're targeting, then get out there and start talking about the problems that they're experiencing and see what's resonating most, right? Because you are going to want to eventually pick this one villain that really is
Hmm.
something that you want to start developing your processes around. And so yeah, I took a few months to really just like get those problems out there and really understand where they were actually having the challenges, and what was actually working in terms of messaging out there. And then you really double down on one main villain,
Hmm.
one main
Yes.
problem, one main thing, and you develop a solution around that. And that's why it took a few months for me to develop my process, right? Once I understood, okay, um, I need to position myself as a guide. I need to make sure that I'm talking to them about the authority that I have in the marketplace and sharing that with them. But at the end of the day, they want to know how I'm going to solve their problem and that I have a plan to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think we all need, if your solution is the same solution. This is another way to stand out in the sea in sameness. Let's kind of go along what we're talking about here. So first, find ideal person you want to serve. And that makes a lot of sense if you're equipped to do it. Like, you spent 10, 15 years in the finance, marketing, financial services, all the stuff. With top companies. So I checked you out. I did the homework. You know your stuff. Like, you are so equipped. You saw a market need. You knew, I'm equipped and I really want to help these people. You married it in with a beautiful backstory from your childhood that just helps
Yeah.
with that big brand North Star. All these just kind of fit
Mhm.
together. So that's okay. Pick someone, pick the problem, get out there, right? Do that pre work, kind of get out there. You're going to really kind of see what lands and you're going to get the feedback. You have to get out there to get the feedback. You can't
Yeah.
just keep planning and doing the stuff. Like, at some point,
Yeah.
do the work, get the
Yeah.
guardrails, as I say, and get out there. And then, yes, so a solution. Your business is we're in business to solve solutions, but instead of just calling it the XY, you branded it. So guess what? Now I even have even more top of mind. And you have this incredible niche formula that funnel, excuse me, the niche funnel formula, I think, or
Yep.
whatever it's called, but it flips this, the status quo on the sales funnel where people are going out and doing the endless handshaking, business cards, even the LinkedIn DMing. Oh my goodness, because I get that too. There's still those that are just mass DMing us on LinkedIn and the
Yeah.
financial services. And there's a better way. You've got to go see Natalie. But yeah, so I love that you branded it, and you can brand it, like find and claim it like that. There is nothing stopping us in finding a really cool name, because you know what? Not only is that sticking an anchor point in my mind, that even helps me elevate, think that you have even more expertise because, oh, she has a framework. That's what a thought leadership, that's thought leaders
Yeah,
stats. You have a framework.
exactly. I mean, I think it's so important for those pieces to fall in place, but I think for to be seen as an authority, to be seen as a specialist or someone with expertise, you're right. I think you do need to have this methodology of your own, and you want to be able to tell a story around it, right? And you want that story to be interesting. So like even your framework sort of needs to have a story, and I've tied that back to the villain, right? The villain being the
Mhm,
traditional sales funnel, and then the solution being like this niche funnel. And so talking about how back in the day you'd be talking to everybody and just everybody under the sun, and then eventually maybe a few of those people actually become clients. But that's a whole heck of a lot of work, time,
mhm,
energy, money, for not as much payout, versus when you flip that traditional funnel around and you start with understanding you know, who actually will resonate you, and talking to them about the problems that they have and the solution that you provide. You end up having, not even needing as many people in that funnel, and getting a whole lot more on the outside of the solution. You're getting a whole lot of people at the bottom of that funnel actually coming out and deciding to be clients, because you've not only told them a story, but then you have spoken to them about the problems that they have in the ways that they care about, in every single thing that you're doing, and just showcasing how you are the guide, you are the authority every step of the way. And so not only does your founder story need to have those elements of authority, and your company story, but then even things like your process. You can be seen as a thought leader just by tying your process into this niche problem, or this narrow lane. Because if everything is just so succinctly put together with against this like greater problem that you're trying to solve, it just feels so cohesive that people
mhm.
can't help but see you as an authority, or see you as an expert in your field.
That's exactly how I teach the Own Your Lane roadmap, because once you develop this, then it's time to get out there with it. So not
Yeah.
only, and we'll talk about LinkedIn in a minute because you do a really good job on that, but you can, get on social and start sharing your expertise. Then
Yeah.
down the road, if you want, you can go speak to the right audiences. You can write a book, or all of the above. You can just do a lot of things to get out there and be so well positioned and stand out in that smaller, granular way, and you're just expediting yourself and your impact, profit, and all the things so much faster. And it just makes life so much easier. It just makes it, because then you're known not only for what you do, but then this branded thing that takes you farther faster. You land on podcasts. People suddenly want to hear about your framework, and you
Mhm.
describe all that on podcasts in your industry. And it just keeps snowballing your effect, getting you in front of the right audiences. So when you do this cohesive work, this roadmap, I know we both teach similar ways in our things, the outcome goes farther,
Yeah.
faster, or faster, farther, or whatever. But you're
Yeah.
getting out there and you're like, yes, you're getting the
Yeah.
traction instead of the exhaustion of, oh my goodness, if I have to go to another networking event. And don't get me wrong, networking events are good, but you got to be very intentional and strategic where you go and who you
Yeah.
say. And again, arm yourself with the right words. We could talk about a whole other thing. People go to networking events and they don't have any cohesive message or how to say it. That's
Mhm.
part of this, I know. So you've got your framework. I'm teaching, this thing, how do we stand out? You've got your branded ideas frameworks. It doesn't even have to be that complicated, just something to help people
Yeah.
anchor. Now let's get out there with it. So what do you teach? I know you're on LinkedIn a lot. You've
Mhm.
talking about your solution. You even have like a LinkedIn solution or something as part of your offerings. But let's talk about what you recommend, let's say for your financial advisors, because a lot of this has spill over to other industries. So, what is your next step to get
Yeah.
out there and stand out?
Yeah, well, I mean, after I'm done kind of helping advisors niche down and then branding them with these messages and helping them understand, helping them tie everything together, right?
Hmm.
Their company story and who they're serving, but and their key messages, but then also their process, their signature framework. I then also help them with that roadmap, and we do a 90-day we do like a 90-day marketing plan for them to really get out there with this new messaging. And I always recommend three main keys for financial advisors. One being like social media, like
Hmm.
um, where are they, which platform, and what is the capacity that you have to do there. And the next one being thought leadership. What kind of thought
Hmm.
leadership platform are we going to get you on? What makes sense not only for your ideal client again, but and for you. And thought leadership meaning like um, is it blogging? Is it email marketing? Is it podcasting?
Hmm.
That sort of thing. And then also the third key being speaking events. I think it's really
Hmm.
important to get out and in front of your audience with I mean, things like this, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, events like this, and then also like key conferences, industry
Yes.
events, and things like that, where your ideal clients are going to be. Because I think it's so important to, I mean, you're going to hear everyone's got this advice of you need to be on social media, you need to be doing
Yeah.
this, you need to be doing that. But the way that you should be doing it should be very targeted. And so all
Hmm.
your decisions need to revolve around who you serve, unless you have a ridiculous marketing budget and you want to spend all the money in the world, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
I mean, if you don't and you want it to actually, be as effective as possible, then I'm very keen on those three keys for financial advisors and
Hmm.
tying them all around, their ideal clients and what they have the capacity to do.
Yeah, we are so much aligned because I just love the 90 days. We set our goals and they're in 90-day chunks too, because that seems like far out enough to make a difference, but not so overwhelming.
Yeah.
I especially have them do like their 30-day and then we do the night, break it up into quarters. But that is so good because you really need to, I like to say, diversify your visibility streams, right? Um, for most of my clients, I would say 90 some percent LinkedIn is the place for them. And the beautiful thing about LinkedIn, as you know, it is a personal brand building thought leadership platform. It's like no other social platform. Now, if your ideal client perhaps isn't there, then we want to rethink that. But it has to, again, align to where your client is, because if they're not there, that makes no sense either. I mean, occasionally you might, if they're not on LinkedIn, come up and show your stuff, but you need to be in front of your audience. So I
Yeah.
love that you have that set for sure. But I love that you do it because it seems manageable. And then also, you didn't mention any paid ads. You didn't really mention any of this, spray and pray type marketing that sadly a lot of the industries have still are doing, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. I do not believe in spray and pray. I think that's such a waste. And you're
Yes.
right. LinkedIn is a fantastic place for financial advisors, especially because not only can they, they're they're building their brand authority. They have to be on at least one platform, and
Hmm.
I feel like people, whether they have their own business or not, or whether they are, you're targeting executives they usually have a LinkedIn profile as well. And regardless if they don't, they're looking you up, right?
Yeah.
And so your LinkedIn profile, even if it's not, super optimized, it still gives the gist of your resume. And
Hmm.
people want to know, what have you done? Where have you been? Who's advocating for you? Who are you communicating with, and what's your message, right? And so they're going to go to your website and they're going to go to LinkedIn essentially
Yes.
for those things. And so I think if you don't have the ability, I mean, as a financial advisor, you can't always have this,
Yeah.
your own website. And so LinkedIn is a really key platform for financial advisors to really optimize.
Yeah, and I've had clients that are financial advisors and they, found their way to find their own way because I know there's regulation too. We won't even talk about all that too. But
Yeah.
having a presence is key because even like the media, when they want expert quotes, because I bring a lot of personal branding and PR together in what I do, and I'm saying, the media is literally looking for experts hourly for stories, especially in finance. It's a huge area, and so you should really be cultivating that. And I help them do that, but media are going to be checking you out to make sure you are the expert source, that you have all this expertise that would be the perfect quote for the story. So that's another reason. Treat your profile like a personal brand website, an
Mhm.
extension of your website, and keep updating it regularly. Don't let it, just gather digital dust
Yeah.
and all the things. Make it look as good because that's social credibility, it's social proof. So that's a huge part of this whole roadmap to stand out. And I know when you work with your clients, as I do, we get our headlines and all that stuff really dialed in. So we don't just say financial advisor, that's it, for the billions of people who could hire us. That makes no sense. So
Yeah.
get really specificity sells is what I like to say all the time. So for
Mhm.
sure. So, as we're wrapping up a few things, I want to kind of just bring everyone along the system that you and I are really, so aligned with on how we do our brand strategy and branding work to stand out. Because, for me, my whole core mission is to help women experts become thought leaders and not
Mhm.
just be seen, but stand out, not just be visible, be seen and stand out.
Mhm.
And so that's everything that I'm here to do. And for you, it's to really help financial advisors, really hone in on who they're trying to serve and stand out, not blend in because there's
Oh, yeah.
millions, millions and millions. So
Yep.
let's talk about some of the last few steps they need to do, to continue this whole evolution and process because it's not one and done. It's a constant journey.
It is. Yeah, you're right. And so, after you've been through the process of branding yourself, really understanding who is that target audience, and then branding yourself and your key messages, you do have to. I mean, there is a bit of a phase where you have to flip over your marketing materials and make sure that your messaging is, facing, the public because, um, you know, prospects especially are, like I said, they're visiting that, those websites, that LinkedIn profile. So it's so important, even though some people are a little bit nervous about, having that kind of honed in messaging, very honed in rather than the generic. I think it's so important because that's where prospects are checking you out. That's the most enticing places to go. And so you really do need to take some time after you're done branding, kind of flip over your marketing materials to be targeted towards your, who is it that you're trying to attract? Regardless of the clients that you have, who is it that you're trying to attract and who is it that you want more of? So take some time and flip over all those marketing materials. And then, like I said, it's the 90-day sprint and that continues, right? Like,
Mhm.
you don't really ever jump off the social media train. There's also there's always opportunities to showcase your thought leadership on the social media um, platform that you're on. There's also opportunities to showcase those speaking events that that you have on the social media. And so one really does kind of collapse against the other when you have those three main keys up and running: social media, some sort of thought leadership platform, and speaking engagements. Your social media is feeding into your speaking engagements, your
Mhm.
speaking engagements are feeding into your social media and your thought leadership platforms. So I mean, you really do need to kind of keep all three, like you said, up and running and updated as much as possible.
That's one thing. I know we all get busy, but we have to keep, no one's going to do it for us. So, you might have a team, but someone needs to continuously keep updating and show your evolution of thought leadership, how it is growing. Because we
Hmm.
are, when you're staying in these 90-day sprints and you're just keep at it, you're going to keep getting opportunities. You're going to keep getting all these things that add another notch to the social proof, social cred, social, the trust factors, the trust tokens, as I
Yeah.
call them. So, that's so important because the more people see, the more they just like, oh, please, you are the person for me. So I think I think some people just think if I just said it, we can forget it. But it's a constant thing. But I tell clients and I teach this, look, when you are so absolutely crystal clear and you're getting this visibility, it just like you said, it's a wheel effect. It just keeps growing and evolving and you like it. It's like
Yeah.
actually fun because you're not on the struggle bus,
Yeah.
right? You're just making people
Yeah.
lives better with whatever you do, transforming in your zone of genius, like totally owning your lane with what you love to do. And you see the difference. And that just kind
Mhm.
of makes you want to keep doing more. So I'm sure
Yeah.
you see that as well with your work.
Yeah, I mean, it's once you get started, it's continuing this type of work, getting the feedback along the way, which is, inevitable with those three things. You really do start to develop your own points of view, and I think
Yes.
that's also something really key to becoming an authority and showcasing your expertise, is having those points of view and being able to speak to them, eloquently on platforms, right? Or in speaking events, and not just pushing your company, your product, your whatever it is, but really helping people by adding value with your points of view, and helping them either learn something new or take a stand on something
Mhm.
and be known for something. I think that's what's most important. So like those three keys really do help you develop a point of view. But then over time you become known for those points of view. And I mean that just it brings you even more inbound requests. And I think
Mhm.
that goes a long way towards building your authority. And also just when you have other people coming to you, not only for business, but for opportunities, those
Mhm.
and that those things spiral into more, it just becomes a lot easier. Like,
I call that owning your lane. You're truly
yeah.
fulfilled in the work that you're meant to do, you love to do,
Mhm.
and you see that impact. And then your bottom line, make a difference and make a statement and, make that bottom line pop. So I absolutely love all this. So, Natalie, I've already mentioned your incredible website, nataliehales.com, where you should go check out for a perfect example of a really well positioned website. It's like props to you. It's so, so good. I think it's just first class. So,
Thank you.
tell us a little bit more about like where we should connect with you on LinkedIn. And I know you have a new course coming out. So tell us real quick about
Yes.
that.
Yes. So yeah, nataliehales.com is my website. You can check out my services that I have there. And I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. So feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn. Shoot me a message. We can chat. And you're right. I have my new niche course coming out tomorrow. So this is just a serendipitous timing here. So the Power of Niche comes out tomorrow, is launching tomorrow, and I'm so excited to kind of get that baby out in the world. It really has been like a year in the making, of just talking about this, developing these points of view, coming up with these frameworks for my advisors, and so yeah, nataliehales.com/course.
I love it. Well, go check it out, everybody, because Natalie is just such a tremendous giver in all she does, especially on LinkedIn. So before we close today, thank you again, Natalie, for being here
Oh,
and
thank
best of luck
you.
on your
Yeah.
course. Absolutely. Before we close today, I would just want to remind everybody if you are ready to put yourself out there, get visible, build that authority, head
Mhm.
on over to my website, michellebgriffin.com, and look for my free audio masterclass on the 3 ways to put yourself out there, get visible, and grow your authority. That's going to be a first way to just get out there. That's the first step. So go check that out, michellebgriffin.com. All right, everybody. I'll be back next week with another amazing standout woman guest. And I just want to thank you again, Natalie. As I always say,
Thank you,
keep
Michelle.
putting yourself out there. Absolutely. Keep putting yourself out there, everybody. You have a brand to build, a message to share, and people to impact. I'll catch you next week, everybody. Take care.